So in this video, I'm going to knock out some just informal kind of conceptual things involved in starting a business or running a business, a small business, potentially growing into a larger business. And it's going to be informal because I'm informal. So I just knocked up a couple of, or put down a couple of concepts, a few concepts that I have found as I've coached people. I've started 3 businesses and sold 2 of them. And I had a mentor the first time I did it, and so he had all of the knowledge of what to do. All I had to do was do stuff, and that was great. And by the way, if you have a mentor, fantastic. If you don't, whether you're working for someone else and you need career advice, or you're looking to start a business or run a business and you need business advice, mentorship is the way to go. Find someone who is already extremely successful doing what you want to do, and then just attach yourself to him or her, and in exchange for their wisdom and experience, you do the work, and you bring the attitude and the enthusiasm and the thirst for knowledge and the work, and you'll be highly compensated for that in some way, shape, or form, either short-term, long-term, or both. But mentorship is the best way to accelerate your professional self toward whatever goal that you have. So that's kind of an aside, but really, really important. It was magical for me. So if you've never started a business before, or you have one and it's just not going anywhere, you need some help. These are the things that I think you want to put your focus on or refocus on. And so there's no real order to them. It was just the way that my mind works. But let me just expand on these and kind of go back and forth a little bit, and I hope you find it helpful. So you start off with an idea or a concept, and this is where I think people get in trouble, because there's lots of good ideas, there's lots of good concepts, right? Lots of good products, cool ideas. That's not enough. And just because you love it and you have a couple friends that love it, there's a big difference between loving something and spending money to purchase it. And I share that because that's an important mindset. The business does not succeed unless a bunch of people spend money and buy it. And the people that buy it, whether it's a product or a service, love it and tell other people how wonderful it is. And there are different degrees of that. But if you can get customers to become advocates, everything else gets easier. So you spend a lot of time on this, but you pretty quickly, after you have this, you have to move right into a number of other things. In no particular order, I think you have to really understand what a perfect customer is. Back to that whole notion of people purchasing things as opposed to liking them or thinking they're cool. And this is basically, there's a demographic component to this, age, location, gender, race, religion. Depending on your product or service, all of those things might be of various different levels of importance. But you want buying habits, you want attitudes, you want hobbies, other things they're interested in. There's all kinds of things that would define your perfect customer. But very few people spend enough time thinking through this. And you can do things like surveying small groups of people. You can use things like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram to get people's opinions on certain things. You can test your concept and your idea for free way before you have to spend any money. I could talk about this for hours, but just think through the idea that, do you really understand who your ideal or your perfect customer would be? And then nobody does this. Nobody does a business plan. And business plans can be 2 pages or they can be 35 pages. And I tell everybody, and there's all kinds of free templates online where you can go and Google the term business plan and get one that resonates with you, get one that's easy for you to use or you can facilitate. But the end business plan is a document. It's a moving target because you're going to reassess it every month, every quarter, every year, because circumstances are going to change as you run into challenges or you have to pivot in a different direction because of macroeconomic circumstances, things that are beyond your control. And nobody can foresee everything that's going to come your way moving forward after you start a business. The plan itself is far less important than the idea of going through the process, the diligence, the rigor of going and building a business plan. This process will give rise to questions you never thought of. It'll make you think deeply, more deeply about things that you're skimming the surface on. The exercise itself is far more valuable than what you end up with. And again, what you end up with, you're going to change forever. So don't get stuck on a business plan, but don't start a business without going through the due diligence of building a plan. Inside the business plan, there'll be some financial planning that you need to do. And I put cash flow down here because when I started my first business, we didn't do any of this. We had a controller, a bookkeeper, and she was fantastic, but she was not a formally trained accountant. The way that you should think about cash flow is, where's my money coming from and when am I going to get it? And once you have reports that give you that information on a regular basis, like every Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock you get one of these, or once a week, once a month, whatever, you get a bunch of reports, but your financial person distills them down to 2 or 3 documents maybe that you get on a regular basis that will tell you enough about your finances, the whens and wheres and hows, where you can use that information to make accurate business decisions. Without a financial plan and cash flow reporting, you're guessing. And I was successful guessing for a while, but at some point, as you get bigger, this is critical or it'll put you right out of business. And why wait until you need it? A lot of these things, people wait until they need them. Building cash flow reporting, a financial plan, and a business plan while you're starting is easy because there are no variables. There are very few variables. Once things get rolling and you have employees and space and all these other moving parts and clients and different payment terms, this becomes a burden. Do it now. Set up the templates, the structure for responsible financial planning, and I promise you, you'll thank me for this later. This is a fairly cliched business acronym. It's a SWOT. They call it a SWOT analysis. And it's a really good exercise because it's very simple. S is for strengths, W is for weaknesses, O is for opportunities, and T is for threats. And when you sit down after you do some of these things and you really think about, what are my strengths? What am I good at? What are we good at? Where can I leverage those strengths in my business? Weaknesses, you got to be honest with yourself. What are you not good at? And if you're not good at something or you're weak at something, you either have to figure out a way to take that out of the picture, or you need to outsource that, to someone else. That could be an employee, it could be a virtual assistant, it could be, your accountant. I'm not an accountant, I have an accountant. Your banker, I'm not a banker, I have a banker, right? Your attorney, I'm not an attorney, I outsource all those things, right? Because I can't do them, or I don't want to do them. Opportunities, this is where you want to spend all your time. If you're pushing energy into areas that are not opportunistic, then you're wasting energy and time. So figure out where your opportunities are. That might be a type of customer, it might be a type of distribution, it might be a unique way to market or sell something. There's all kinds of opportunities. Figure out what they are and spend your time here. This threats is like, just eliminate the surprises to the extent that you can. Every business, every economy, every geography, every location has threats. Those can come in the forms of competition, limitations on your growth, limitations on your ability to access financing. There's a myriad of things that could fall into the threat category. But if you go through this exercise, and again, there are templates online that you can use to do this, it's a quadrant and 4 squares, and you just write them down. Again, this exercise, very much like this exercise, the exercise itself is far more valuable than what you end up with. So this is kind of structural necessity, right? I would not advise anybody to spend a dime or a minute of time pursuing, starting, or building a business if you didn't go through this diligence. And again, that's just broad brush on some of those categories, but maybe it gets you thinking about things. You can Google all this stuff, or you can give me a call and send me an email and we can set up some coaching.